Hey Creep Freaks, Ren here. Got one for you today called Gutterball the Clown. Gutterball is a very, very disturbed clown. Very quick plug for my book, Creepy Horror. It's 99 cents on Amazon, but only until Tuesday. If you've been on the fence about buying it, now's your last chance to pick it up for that price. Do me a favor, click the link below, check it out, let me know what you think. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, you could also read it for free. Now, onto the story. Gutterball the Clown, written and read by Ren Bryant. As soon as Lily saw the clown's painted-on smile, she knew something was off about him. The cracked white face paint, the roughly drawn fingertip red crescent. It wasn't much more than a smear, really, a sloppy finger drag across the face. Even with the smile, the clown looked sad. Not sad in a ha-ha way that clowns sometimes go for, but sad in a destitute way, a nihilistic sorrow that came from within and seeped through the crude black-painted tears, a red sponge ball nose, and flaming polyester straw hair. The clown honked a horn on the lapel of his oversized tricolor coat and sprinkled confetti onto the crowd of the Midnight Circus, an attraction set up a few months ago in the Burnsville Entertainment District. Lily and her friends couldn't afford to head to the beaches for spring break, so they stayed home and looked for new things to do. The circus was their way to officially kick off the holiday with some fun. When the clown with the cracked paint and the smeared smile got to Lily, he paused and made pouty lips. He mimed that his heart was beating before reaching into the bag of popcorn on her lap and playfully tossing a few pieces in her direction. She didn't react. He danced the jig in goofy, oversized black shoes before stopping and stretching out his hand for Lily to take. Lily knew the clown was playing and that he would do the same with anyone from the audience. But still, it made her uncomfortable and brought up bad memories. Brett Putney did something similar to her at junior prom 2 months ago. He held out his hand the same way. Lily was standing off in the corner near the punch table, alone and dateless. She was surprised as Brett approached her. She remembered how her face beamed, how she stood up straight in her evening gown as he asked her to dance. When she reached out her hand in acceptance, he rescinded his offer, pulling his hand back and wiping it through his hair. Psych! The other students around her laughed and pointed. Lily was in tears. Lily wasn't the most attractive girl at Burnsville High. She was what people today call thick. Her face was nearly as red as the clown's nose, with everlasting pimples. The doctor said it was hormones and her diet that accentuated her chubby cheeks. And no matter how much Pantene she used, her brown hair never got so healthy that it shined. It remained a frizzy, thin, and brittle mess. Lily wasn't happy being Cinderella's ugly stepsister, but she grew to accept her place in life. She had wanted to go to prom with her neighbor Jordan Hayes. She desperately hoped he would ask her out, but he didn't. Lily thought Jordan liked her. She saw him looking at her a lot, but she still wasn't quite sure. Jordan seemed to hide his emotions behind a mask, like he kept his feelings hidden so his friends wouldn't bust his balls. Lily had a crush on Jordan since forever, but she was too shy to engage in any real conversation with him. She tried it once. She even got his number, but she was never brave enough to call and take it further. Jordan saw the whole thing at prom, which made the situation even worse. Since that time, Lily hasn't talked to anyone except for her besties Shauna and Mariana, the ones with her at the circus. Lily looked at her friends, trying to get their judgment as to whether she should take the clown up on his offer, whether she should take his hand. Lily was so fearful the clown would pull the same stunt that Brett did, and she would be laughed at again. Shauna and Mariana were at the prom when Brett played his dirty trick. They were the ones that took a crying Lily home after it happened. Shauna and Mariana both shrugged in response. Mariana mouthed, "Sure." So Lily took the clown's hand and stood next to him in the stairwell. The audience around her clapped. Eyeball to eyeball with the clown, Lily thought he looked even worse up close. It wasn't just the bad makeup, it was his eyes. Pale green eyes that gave the impression the clown wasn't all there. A couple of fries short of a Happy Meal is what her father would say. The clown flashed a toothy smile. Against the bright red paint on his lips, his tobacco-yellowed teeth glowed. He gestured for Shauna and Mariana to also get up. The crowd clapped encouragement as they rose to their feet. "Ow! What the—" It was Lily who jumped and yelled and rubbed her bottom. "He pinched me," she said, though no one was paying attention. She gave the clown a menacing glance, but he was looking off into the space on the other side of the circus tent, whistling childishly. The clown honked the horn on his lapel and motioned for the group to go down to the front of the stands. They followed. As the audience watched, the clown dropped to a knee in front of Shauna and pulled flowers from his sleeve. Of course, Shauna, Lily thought. She was the good-looking one, the one the boys always went to if they had to pick between the three of them. Shauna had that perfect oval face, that jubilant, pimple-free peach perfection. Lily was jealous of how she looked. Though Shauna could get any boy she wanted, after all she had to do was blink those sultry brown eyes, wave that raven black hair, and lean over a counter and flash her well-endowed chest. She didn't. She dated a few boys, but she never rubbed her looks in the faces of others, especially not her friends. Lily really appreciated that about her. The clown stood up and marched around the girls with his hands behind his back. He walked around inspecting them like cattle. At Mariana, he paused. Mariana was in between Lily and Shauna in all ways. It wasn't just height and weight, but also other things like her birthday, her grades, even her economic status. The only place Mariana wasn't in the middle was friendship. She and Lily came first, friends since junior high. They met in that awful year of 7th grade when kids were just figuring things out and forming the cliques that would take them through high school. Shauna didn't enter the equation until a year later, in 8th grade. She had moved from Florida in the middle of the school year. While the rest of the kids were standoffish with somebody new, Lily and Mariana accepted Shauna with open arms. It helped that they all lived within a few blocks of each other. Lily figured if they would have met in high school, their differences would have kept them apart. But over the years, however, she found that it was their differences that kept them together. Each brought something different to the table. "Hey, ow!" Lily jumped around again and stared down the clown with a furrowed brow and anger in her eyes. The clown looked off into the rafters again, this time using his hand to shield his eyes from the spotlights hanging at the top of the circus tent. "He slapped my butt," Lily said to her friends. "Did you see that?" They shook their heads. "Maybe he just likes you," Mariana said with a wink. "It's just part of his act. He's supposed to be messing with us." The clown took out an Etch-a-Sketch from his jacket and proceeded to quickly draw Lily's face. He showed it to her, the lines uneven and coming together at harsh angles. Even if it was a joke like the other stuff, Lily didn't like it. She felt the clown was making fun of her looks and picking on her because she was the squatty and fat one with the pimply face. The clown wouldn't do this to the beauty queen, she thought. He wouldn't do this to the average-looking one, not when he could pick on the weakest of the group. Lily crossed her arms and shook her head in disapproval and let out a deep sigh. She wanted to go back to her seat, to stop being the focus of attention. When Lily looked back to the clown, he began to cry. It wasn't fake clown tears. This was no pantomime. It was real ones that made the black around his eyes mix with the white and the red. Pink-tinted drops dripped off his chin. The clown shook the Etch-a-Sketch violently, making it go blank, and he put it back in his jacket. With his head low, his shoulders hunched, the clown took funeral step after funeral step. The girls were escorted back to their seats. "What the hell was that about?" Lily said to her friends after settling in and putting the popcorn back on her lap. "I think he's got mental problems." "Maybe, but he was a harmless clown," Mariana said. "Just messing with us, doing his act." Shauna fussed with her hair on her phone's camera and said nothing. "Hey, let's grab an Uber," Lily said as the girls walked out of the tent with the crowd and headed towards Jefferson Street. The midnight circus was over. It wasn't quite midnight, but it was late enough for the high-pressure sodium streetlights to be on and the drunks and junkies to stumble through the streets around the circus tent. The girls laughed and chatted and were oblivious to those around them. They didn't notice the man next to them, the one with a bit of makeup still on his face, looking at Lily's phone screen with distant, glassy, pale green eyes and a crooked smile showing yellow, tobacco-stained teeth. They didn't notice him mouthing Lily's home address, which showed on her screen as the final Uber destination. The Midnight Circus was the latest addition to a grand revitalization plan of what was once an open-air drug market. Down past the railroad tracks, where 39th intersected with Jefferson, there was once Bottoms Up Titty Bar, an establishment that shared a parking lot with Lou's Bowling and Fun. There was Roxy's Corner Store, which was filled with processed everything and little cigars and scratch-off lotto tickets. There was Good Luck Chinese Food, where you ordered by number and got your food served in styrofoam containers from behind bulletproof glass. And in the alleyways between buildings, there were pimps and prostitutes and homeless and the freedom to shoot up and stagger around without a care. The area was the blight of Burnsville. Rezoning it to the Burnsville Entertainment District was the mayor's idea. Well, ex-mayor. Things didn't go well. The rezoning didn't do much to change the situation. The area was still too hot for big box retailers to move in. The mayor said these things take time, and then, to speed things up, he claimed possession through eminent domain of all the businesses in the area, those with tits and those without, and then razed most of the buildings. The mayor wasn't reelected. Gutterball the Clown wasn't always Gutterball the Clown. Before he was Gutterball, he was Casey Bussell, a slow-speaking loner who always dreamed of being Peter Pan. He did happy things to happy children in the place between asleep and awake. Unfortunately for Casey, he always had to worry about grown-up things after the feds took him to Never Never Land. That was after Casey snorted too much pixie dust and got caught fondling. He pleaded no contest. His lawyer said Casey didn't understand that if there was no grass on the field, he couldn't play ball. When he got out, Casey couldn't do much with the rap sheet he had. No one wanted to hire a registered sex offender. He applied at Lou's on a whim after he saw a help wanted sign in the window. Casey filled out Lou's one-page application. He handed it to the manager, who took one look at him and shrugged. The manager said they don't got no one else interested, so he would have to do. There was no interview, no background check, only a handshake. Casey's first day was a surprise. The manager shoved a shiny polyester tricolored clown outfit into his gut like he was handing off a football. On top of the folded outfit were giant bozo shoes, and inside the shoes were a round red sponge nose and some sticks of face paint. He was told it was his job to be the entertainment, to put the fun in Lou's Bowling and Fun. A snot-sucking kid came up to Casey after he changed into his full clown regalia and asked what his name was. Casey looked at himself in the mirror and drooped his shoulders. The clown outfit wasn't built for a man of his frame. The pants stopped mid-shin, the sleeves stopped mid-forearm. His pot belly made the closure in front bulge. The worst, however, was the makeup. Casey never applied makeup before. He really caked it on. He put on so much white above his eyebrows that he looked like a Cro-Magnon. And his lips were a red index finger smile. But despite this, the kid didn't run away. "What's your name?" the kid said again, tugging at Casey's pant leg. Casey was about to tell the brat to fuck off, but then he saw the manager looking at him, so he bit his tongue. He looked at the kid's granddad, who was bowling in lane 7. The old man was shaky as he held a black bowling ball with 2 hands. His chicken bone legs wobbled as he walked towards the lane. An unlit cigarette hung off his lips. When it came time to roll the ball, the granddad hunched over like a monkey and pushed it down the lane. After 5 feet, it went into the gutter. "Name's Gutterball," Casey said, with a smile and a muss of the kid's hair. The name stuck. No one called him Casey ever again. Things were good at Lou's. Given the location, there weren't too many brats running around, so Gutterball was left alone for the most part. The few kids who did show up there were either accompanied by a grandfather on Social Security or with newly divorced Father of the Year types, the ones who would leave their child and friends to bowl alone so he could head over to Bottoms Up for the 4 p.m. dollar lap dance special. Royce Enright was one of those kids. He was Gutterball's first since getting out of the pen. The first, but not the last. The impulses came back to Gutterball in waves. An itch he couldn't scratch. That habit he thought he kicked behind bars through the help of prison beatdowns, broomstick rape, and weekly visits with the counselor. In the alley behind Lou's Bowling and Fun, things happened. From Gutterball's tricolored clown onesie, an erect penis poked through the Velcro closure. A purple top surprise for Royce's 8th birthday. "It's okay, you can touch it," Gutterball said with a childish giggle. A tingly sensation of excitement made Gutterball lick his lips with anticipation. Royce, James, Rondell, Barbara, Monique, unattended children, left to have fun with the clown. After the mayor made his moves and forced the dancers to stop dancing and the bowlers to stop bowling, Gutterball found himself unemployed like all the rest. The workers at Lou's and Bottoms Up, and even Roxy's, didn't have too many options for further employment. These were last resort destinations for last resort people. It didn't help that the economy was shaky and teetering on a recession. Employers could be picky. They'd choose perky new tits over older, saggy ones, serious clowns who knew magic tricks over sketchy pretend clowns with rap sheets. With nowhere left to go and no money to pay for rent, Gutterball wandered the streets of Burnsville, jerking off in the bushes outside parks to the sounds of children playing. He slept in abandoned buildings, dodged the wrecking ball more than once, and thought about how all children grow up. All children but one, anyways. When the tent for the midnight carnival went up, Gutterball took out his wrinkled costume from his backpack. Lou's generously let him keep the sweat and body fluid stain thing, and he asked for a job. As Lily drew the blinds to her upstairs bedroom, she thought she glimpsed something on the street below. Not something, someone. Someone behind the oak tree in Mr. Harza's front lawn across the street. Her heart skipped a beat and she lost her breath, but only for a second. It was night, so she couldn't have been sure what she saw. She cupped her hands to the window to cut the glare, but there was nothing there. Must have been her imagination after an evening she'd rather forget. The stuff with the clown at the circus bothered Lily. It bothered her the entire ride home, though her friend shrugged it off as part of the show and no big deal. Maybe if they got pinched on the ass or had an ugly etch-a-sketch drawn of them, they would think differently. Getting made fun of by a clown wasn't exactly Lily's ideal start to spring break. She thought it'd be something they could laugh at, not something where everyone would laugh at her. Not that her friends laughed at her, but some people in the crowd did, just like at junior prom. Oh well, Lily thought. Tomorrow would be a new day, and they would go do something else, maybe head to the movies or something where they could just chill. She fluffed her pillow, turned off her light, and went to sleep. Gutterball learned some techniques in prison, things he never thought about before, like breaking and entering. It came in handy when he was on the streets after Lou's clothes shop. Gutterball learned that most locks are pin and tumbler type. When people turn that deadbolt, they think that big hunk of metal jammed into the frame will provide security when somebody rams it. And it would, but the smart ones don't ram doors. With a small tension wrench, a locked door becomes as easy to open as turning a key. The front door to the girl's house was the same way. He entered as quietly as possible, tiptoeing through the tulips, he thought. The house was mostly quiet, except for the ticking of a clock in the living room and the sounds of snoring coming from upstairs. Quiet, quiet. Be light as a feather, Gutterball told himself as he held his breath up the stairs. The girl didn't live alone. Her mom and dad were sleeping in the master bedroom at the end of the hall. Gutterball watched from their doorway as the husband slept on his back and snored like a buzzsaw, while the mom slept on her stomach with a hand under her pillow. He noticed the arch in her back as her boobs got in the way of lying flat. It looked uncomfortable, and Gutterball was happy he didn't have boobs. Gutterball went to their daughter's room. She was why he was there in the first place. He stood in the dark corner of the room, watching her chest move up and down in deep sleep. Gutterball wondered where dreams were born, and if the girl was dreaming happy dreams where hearts flew on wings. Gutterball was dreaming those dreams. His heart was soaring. It thumped against his ribs. He thought it was so loud it would wake up the girl. His body tingled with excitement as he pulled down his pants and touched himself. He let out muted grunts. This was better than anything before, he thought. Better than anything that happened in the alley behind Lou's. Gutterball left a stain on the wall and left. As he walked out, he got within inches of the girl's brown hair, stopping to inhale her scent deeply. He closed his eyes, and as he did so, he thought of the places only dreams could take him. I swear I saw him last night, Lily said. She was lying on her back in bed, FaceTiming Mariana and Shauna, figuring out plans for the day. Who? Shauna asked, applying a bit of blush as she talked. The clown, Lily said. From the circus? Mariana said. She was finishing up her bagel for breakfast, talking from the kitchen table. Like, what do you mean you saw him? Like afterwards? What clown? Mariana's mother said. Mariana waved her away. Yeah, Lily said. Well, not the clown. I don't know. It was a feeling, I guess. I was closing my blinds and I swore I saw somebody looking at me from across the street. But it wasn't the clown. There was no one there. I looked. It was my imagination, I guess. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. Maybe I'm in a funk about what happened with the prom still. Last night at the circus, it reminded me of the same thing. I didn't sleep well either. I had a bad dream about it. Felt the clown hovering over me, watching me. Well, no clown, no circus today, Shauna said with a megawatt smile. Hey, guess what? I got a message from my friend Kelly down in Florida that the beaches were popping. I wish we were there. Me too, Mariana said. Her camera bounced around as she walked up the stairs of her house to her bedroom. You guys should come over, Lily said. We can make our own beach. We've got that plastic kiddie pool out back. I mean, yeah, the dog uses it, but we can dip our feet in. You know, get the lawn chairs out, pretend we're enjoying the water for Instagram. Imagine Jordan seeing that. The girls laughed. That's silly, Shauna said. Yeah, well, you got a better idea of what to do? Lily said. Shauna shrugged. Lily Beach, here we come, Mariana said. The girls laughed some more. "Bring your bikinis," Mariana added. "Let's make Jordan jealous. Show him what he's missing by not being with Lily." "Hey, maybe my dad even has some sand," Lily said. "I'll ask before my parents head to work today." Gutterball woke up groggy. He stretched his bones and rubbed the crust out of his eyes. Part of it was sleep, part of it was dried goo, since he didn't have time to take off all the clown makeup after the circus last night. One of the downsides to sleeping at what they called transitional housing was that the overhead fluorescent lights never went out. They used to be turned off at 11 p.m., but after too many incidents, the New Hope housing administrators decided to keep the lights on around the clock. Though there were supposed to be rules in place to stop bad things from happening, the rules were barely enforced. Ex-cons would be ex-cons, was the saying at New Hope. Though Gutterball settled into his cot satisfied, with a smile on his face and the feeling of contentment sending him into fairy tale dreams, he still woke up feeling not fully rested. It was a late night for him, and he only got a few hours sleep. Still, it was a good night for Gutterball. He did something new, experienced something thrilling. Some of the inmates in the pen used to talk about how exciting it felt to break into houses, the mad rush of endorphins that came from knowing things could go wrong at any second. Gutterball never felt that before, not until last night. Sure, he got his kicks with the kiddies, and that was satisfying in its own way, but even when he was doing it on the sly behind Lou's, he was never panicked like he was when he was breaking into the house. He never felt that sensation of his heart pounding so hard he thought it would burst. He never experienced the excitement that came of having to sneak as quietly as possible, of not knowing if there was a gun waiting for you on the other side of a door, of doing things in dark corners while the person he watched slept blissfully. Over a cup of free coffee that tasted like cardboard, Gutterball smiled thinking about last night's adventure. She was such a pretty girl. He liked pretty girls. And she was older, too. Much older than usual. Gutterball thought this must mean he was growing up. He had to see her again. Lily's dad did have some sand after all. The girls pushed it against the blue plastic toddler pool, creating their own beach. They filled the pool with water from the garden hose, changed into their bikinis. Lily wore a one-piece, and took out their iPhones. Though the temperature only hovered in the mid-60s in Burnsville, the sun was shining and that was enough. Spring break was spring break. They took close-up shots of their feet and legs for Instagram. They tried all sorts of artistic angles and made an entire afternoon of it, trying to make it look like they were somewhere special. They even added filters to give it a more glamorous look. Hashtag Spring Break Burnsville. Their friends and friends of friends chimed in with playful comments. Jordan even wrote "so cool," which made the girl scream and jump up and down, splashing water everywhere. "So he does notice you," Shauna said with a wink and a smile. Gutterball hung out in the bushes, which gave a natural border to her backyard. Amongst the forsythias and Carolina laurel cherries, he watched. He watched as the girls splashed each other with the hose, kicked water at each other with their toes from the kiddie pool. He watched as they sat on lawn chairs and their milky white skin absorbed the sun's rays. He watched them like this until a chill in the afternoon made the girls pack up, hug, and go their separate ways. He watched Lily and her family eat dinner, and he watched them watching TV. As he watched, that feeling inside of him came back, the one that made him tingle with excitement, that impulse that made him lick his lips and rub himself through his pants. Gutterball entered the house the same as last time. He moved quicker now, knowing the layout and which stairs squeaked. In Lily's bedroom, he stood over her as she slept. He pulled down her blanket and his eyes swept over her blossoming body and silky skin. She was wearing a long white short-sleeved gown and nothing else. He noticed how peaceful and angelic her face looked, the face of a cherub. He took in her scent, the smell of sunshine. He whispered things to her until she stirred. He did his business on the floor next to her bed, and walked out the door he broke into. Lily woke to an Etch-a-Sketch on her bedside table. She blinked and rubbed her eyes when she saw it, not sure if she was still dreaming. There was an image of her on the device. It was her, sleeping in bed. The lines were uneven and didn't connect properly at the corners. It was drawn just like the one from the clown at the midnight circus. Lily screamed, jumped out of bed, and ran from her room. In the hallway, she ran into her parents, who had stormed from their room when they heard Lily's cries. Her dad had shaving cream on his face, 2 lines removed by a razor, and was wearing boxers and black socks. Her mom had a towel wrapped around her head, a robe around her body. They were in the middle of getting ready for work. Lily collapsed into her mom's outstretched arms. "What's wrong?" her dad said, looking around, trying to figure out what the screaming was about. "Someone was here," Lily said. She shook with fright and wiped away tears. Her parents looked at each other with faces that said they didn't quite understand. "Come, look," Lily said. Lily escorted Tom and Sarah Severton to her room. She stopped at the doorframe and pointed to her nightside table. "Look!" Tom wasn't sure what he was looking at. What am I missing?" "The Etch-a-Sketch," Lily said. "It wasn't there last night. Someone broke in and left it there. It was the clown from the circus that we went to a few days ago." Lily's parents still quite weren't sure what she was talking about or what was going on, so Lily explained what had happened and what went on at the circus. She told them about a creepy clown with cracked makeup, how he had a deadened and dumb look in his eyes. She told them about the pinch and slap on her butt. Her dad was furious. He yelled at Lily, saying, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" But then he apologized and said he wasn't mad at her, it was the situation. He stormed the house, looking for signs of other things amiss. He checked the doors, the windows, the front and backyard. There were no other signs of disturbances. Even the door looked to be fine. There were no marks of forced entry. Tom called the police to report the incident. They said they would send someone over soon. He looked up the number to the Midnight Circus and couldn't wait to give them a piece of his mind. Their website said they didn't open until after lunch. The police officer didn't say much. He took notes, rattled doors, checked windows, and suggested they looked into a security system. The Severtons couldn't afford a security system, nor could they afford a handgun, which was the other option Tom had thought about, but the police never mentioned. They could afford to change the locks, however, so that's what Tom did. When he was done with that, the circus was open, so he called the manager there, chewed him out, and said the police would be coming by to take that disgusting clown of theirs to jail. Lily's parents called out from work and stayed with her the rest of the day. What a spring break this was turning out to be, Lily thought. She didn't think it could get much worse. Lily, of course, chatted with her friends about what happened. They wanted to come over, but Lily said no. She said her dad was not in the mood for company, even Lily's friends. "Do I have to sleep here?" Lily asked her parents at dinner. Though the request wasn't totally unplanned, she had discussed staying at Shauna's house with her earlier in the day. Lily wasn't sure she would actually ask her parents until now. Her dad seemed to have calmed down, so she figured he wouldn't go off if she asked to sleep at a friend's house. "I changed the locks," her dad said as he chewed a pork chop. "We're safe." "Yeah, but I'm just not comfortable being here," Lily said. "The thought of being in my bed, where that clown was next to me, I can't." Lily's mom looked at her dad and made soft, sympathetic eyes. Lily saw her mouth say, "It's okay." "Well," her dad said, taking a swig of beer and not finishing his thought. "I could stay at Shauna's," Lily said. "She said it was okay." "Well, you're not walking," her dad responded. "I'm driving you there." After dinner, Lily packed her things and got dropped off. It was silly. Shauna only lived 3 blocks away, but she wasn't going to argue. Her dad watched as she walked in the front door of Shauna's house. He waited a minute just to make sure everything was okay. There was nothing to indicate that it wasn't okay, but he was a protective dad, so that's just what he did. When Lily, Shauna, and Mariana waved from the front window, he backed the car up and drove the 3 blocks home. Lily never mentioned that Shauna's parents weren't home. Gutterball never left Lily's house. Not really, anyways. He slept in the bushes after he dropped off his Etch-a-Sketch on Lily's table. He was used to sleeping outside, so the thought that he shouldn't never crossed his mind. He liked Lily and hoped she liked him too. The Etch-a-Sketch was a present. He stayed up most of the night working on the drawing while he sat next to her and smelled her hair and listened to her breathe deeply. He hoped she was dreaming of him, of her waiting for him in that distant land where hearts fly. The sound of Lily's dad going nuts inside the house woke Gutterball up. He hid in the neighbor's yard when the police came. For the rest of the day, however, he watched from the bushes as Lily's dad changed the locks and added bars to prevent the windows from opening. He also watched Lily throw the Etch-a-Sketch into the kitchen trash and how she cried and hugged her mom after she did it. Gutterball didn't like what he saw and heard that day. When the car started with Lily and her dad inside, Gutterball watched that too. As it drove down Round Robin Lane, he ran after it. When it took a left down Lakeside, Gutterball ran faster, cutting through backyards, trying to anticipate the car's next move. His lungs burned and his heart went schizo. He wasn't used to running anywhere. After a couple of blocks, he had to pause on the sidewalk and catch his breath. He bent, with his hands on his knees, sucking in air. He squinted, looking for their black Ford. In the distance, he found it, parked in the driveway of a tan stone ranch house. Gutterball grinned and walked the rest of the way there. "I can't believe this is happening," Mariana said. "It's totally gross." "What a psycho," Shauna added. Lily nodded, though she was tired of talking about the creepy clown. She spent all day talking and thinking about him, first to her parents, then to the police, then to her friends. She didn't come to Shauna's to talk more about what happened. She came to get away from what happened, to get her mind focused on something else. "Okay, let's play a game," Lily said as the girls lazily sprawled out on the couch and recliner. "Date, ditch, or disco." "What's that?" Shauna said. "I'll name a name. You tell me if you want to date the person, ditch the person, or dance with the person." If you're dating a person, couldn't you also dance with them?" Mariana said, as she absently twisted her long hair around her index finger. "Come on, just go with it," Lily said. She could have added that she was making the game up on the spot, but she didn't. "All right, do me first," Shauna said, smiling and holding her knees to her chest on the couch. "Dax row," Lily said. "Date, ditch, or disco." The girls laughed. "Dax?" Shauna made a gagging motion. Dax was on the second squad football team, but he thought himself a top-tier player in everything, whether sports or with the ladies. He put gobs of gel in his hair and slicked it back, looking like Eddie Munster with his buck teeth. Though the rest of the world knew better, Dax thought he was smooth shit, and he had a thing for Shauna since the start of high school. "Ditch, obviously," Shauna said, rolling her eyes. "Okay, do me now," Lily said. Shauna returned the favor. "Jordan Hayes," she said with a naughty smile. Mariana oohed and laughed on the couch. Lily thought about it for a while, her eyes looking towards the ceiling, a wide smile creeping across her face. "Definitely going to be date," Mariana said. "You need to ask him out," Shauna added. "I mean, for real. Don't let his friends stop you guys from seeing each other. Be bold. Talk to him." The girls did another few rounds of the game until they ran out of names and it got dark outside. After going together to check that every door and window was locked, they piled into Shauna's room to sleep. Shauna offered the bed to Lily, who offered it to Mariana. In the end, Mariana and Lily shared the bed, while Shauna put a sleeping bag on the carpet. Gutterball watched as the girls inside the house talked and laughed. His mind drifted to somewhere between reality and the place of dreams. But this wasn't a dream like before. In this dream, every smile of Lily's made him hurt inside. It broke his heart. There was something else building inside of Gutterball as his eyes narrowed on Lily's pearly white smile. It wasn't the excitement he experienced before, the thrill of breaking into somewhere foreign and disallowed. What was bubbling in him now wasn't anything pleasant at all. It was doubt about what to do. Doubt that made his heart no longer fly, doubt that made his dreams dissolve. He didn't know why she was running from him. He gave her a present. He never gave a present to a girl before. All he wanted was for her to like him in the way he liked her. All he wanted was to feel her soft skin on his, to play the games he played with all the children, the ones with his purple top. But he wanted to play it forever with her. Gutterball never experienced such feelings before and didn't know what was happening. All he knew was his guts hurt, and he didn't like it. He wanted it to stop. The voice of Ray Manzi played on repeat in Gutterball's head. Ray was one of Gutterball's friends in prison. He was another one like him, another man who liked young boys and girls. Ray had been locked up for 8 years already by the time Gutterball arrived. It was after Gutterball's first night, when a man with a swastika tattoo on his chest forced himself onto Gutterball in the shower, that Ray began teaching Gutterball the ropes. Ray said, if you don't like them, then take care of them. That's the only way. He made stabbing motions with a crude shank and said to stab them in the stomach. Stab them twice if you want to kill them, Ray said. Gutterball took out the clown makeup he kept in his backpack with the rest of his supplies, and he did his makeup as best as he could without a mirror. Ray said to take care of them, and that's what he was going to do. Gutterball waited until the lights went out before he took out his tension wrench and opened the door like he did before, breaking in as easily as turning a key. The house was still. There was no snoring, no clocks ticking, nothing to indicate anyone was home. The soft pale glow of the moon shone through the windows, giving him enough light to easily maneuver around furniture. He headed towards the garage. Supplies first, then the girls, he thought. When he arrived at Shauna's room, he stood in the doorway. Lily was nested close to Mariana under the covers in the bed, 2 peas in a pod. Their breath was in rhythm. Shauna was sprawled across the floor, having come out of her sleeping bag. Gutterball watched as the sounds of deep sleep filled the room. If this was before, he would have enjoyed himself and left. But tonight wasn't before. Tonight there would be no play. Instead, there was doubt and things inside him that hurt, and the barbarous business of growing up with its inconveniences and pimples and taking care of it, as Ray said. Shauna's screaming woke up the other girls. They didn't even have time to react before they were yanked out of bed by their hair and thrown to the ground like rag dolls. Hell came instantaneously as they huddled together, holding each other tight, shaking as the lights came on and the space between the doorframe was swallowed by a balding hulk of a man wearing clown makeup. A smear of red gave him a crooked mouth. 2 black fingertip smudged tears offset glossy, lost eyes. There was no red sponge ball nose, nor flaming polyester straw hair, but Lily knew who it was as soon as he flashed that yellow-toothed smile. It was the clown from the circus, the one who pinched and slapped her butt, the one who left the Etch-a-Sketch at her bedside. "You don't like me," the clown said, his eyes locked onto Lily. She didn't respond. None of them did. They couldn't if they wanted to. Fear had swallowed their voice. Their lips quivered as they sobbed. Tears streamed down their cheeks. "Why don't you like me?" the clown shouted. "I gave you a gift. I like you." Still, silence from the girls. "Speak!" the clown roared. "Tell me!" When no one spoke up, the clown walked towards them, making the girls scoot back on their butts until they hit the wall. He stuck his face close to theirs and inhaled deeply, smelling their hair, their perfume, their fear. "Leave us alone, you psycho!" Shauna yelled. The clown backhanded her. It sounded more like a punch, bone on bone, and Shauna crumpled to the floor, holding her face. "You took away my dream," the clown said, again looking at Lily. "My dream of us together! You took it away!" He grabbed a fistful of Lily's hair and picked her up, lifting her off her feet by her roots so he could look at her eye to eye. Lily screamed in agony. It felt like she was being scalped. She could feel strands of hair coming out one by one. Her eyes watered, clouding her vision. She tried to wiggle free, but that only amplified the pain and made more hair come loose. "We should have been together," the clown said, spit flying in Lily's face. With the clown focused on Lily, Shauna quietly grabbed a softball trophy from her dresser and threw it in his direction. The cheap metal trophy bounced off the side of his head. The throw was weak, not hard enough to do any damage. The clown didn't even let out a murmur. He did, however, let go of Lily, who dropped to the floor like a bag of bricks. Mariana went to Lily's side and hugged her. Lily's scalp was as red as the clown's lips. Blood trickled from her forehead, out the holes where hair used to grow. The clown sucked in a deep breath and rushed Shauna. She tried to brace herself, but it didn't matter. He was too strong, too powerful. He put his shoulder into her midsection and tackled her, driving her with such force that the back of her head broke the drywall. Shauna went limp. Mariana threw a large glass Yankee candle at the clown and got him on the jaw. The clown's eyes rolled in the back of his head. Mariana pulled Lily off the floor, and they ran from the bedroom screaming. They stumbled at the steps, their footing unsure as fear made their whole body shake. From behind, they heard the heavy footfalls of the clown. "Go, go, go!" Mariana shouted, pushing Lily's back to make her go faster. They looked behind them just in time to see the clown in flight, having jumped from the top of the stairs towards them. His hefty body collided with theirs. It was a crash of bones, the sound of flesh smacking against the tile floor. The clown got up while Mariana and Lily rolled slowly, their bodies broken. He punched each in the face and they rolled no more. When Lily came around, she was dizzy and her heart raced in her chest. She saw they were tied up with ropes to the kitchen chairs. It was sloppy knotwork. Lily was only tied around her hands and feet. Shauna, too, though there was another rope that went under her breasts, pushing them up higher than usual. Mariana, though, was a mess of ropes. It looped around her entire body from head to toe. Lily could see it was pulled much tighter than hers. She could see how red Mariana's skin was, especially around her neck and face, or what little of her neck and face Lily could see anyways. She wasn't sure whether Mariana could breathe under the ropes. Given that there was no movement, Lily wasn't even sure Mariana was alive. Lily saw the clown at the island of the kitchen table, fumbling around in his backpack. His back was turned to them. Lily bent forward as far as she could go to check if Shauna was awake. It was hard to tell. Shauna's chin was down towards her chest and rocked back and forth. She was alive at least, but she still looked out of it. Lily pulled against her restraints. Her feet were bound tightly at the ankles, but her hands were surprisingly loose. There seemed to be a bit of give in the rope, and she thought she might be able to pull a hand out. But she knew if she did it now, it would be suicide. She decided instead to engage the clown. "Why?" Lily's voice cracked. The clown turned. In his hand was a homemade knife. "Why? You ask me why?" the clown said. "Why? Why you not keep my gift?" Shauna's chin rose from the noise of the clown. Her eyes flashed with terror, and she let out another scream when she saw the knife. The clown laughed a hoarse laugh. his electric yellow teeth somehow making the sound seem sicker than usual. "Shauna!" Lily yelled to get her attention. Shauna looked her way, and Lily could see her limbs trembling. Her chest rose up and down in small, desperate waves. Lily's eyes motioned to her hands. She wiggled her fingers, trying to show Shauna she had some room to maneuver. "Enough talk," the clown said, holding up his knife and breathing in and out deeply through his nose. Lily thought something about his eyes had changed. They didn't seem as distant as before. There was something menacing behind them. There was a fury in them, Lily thought. Shauna let out another yelp, this one sounding forced. Lily looked in her direction and Shauna flicked her head towards the counter, showing Lily their phone sitting there. "Enough talk," the clown said again. He stomped over to Shauna and held the blade of the knife to her throat. Shauna turned her head up, trying to look backwards, trying to not see the knife, trying to avoid the feeling of the breath of the clown upon her. Lily could see the tendons in Shauna's neck and her pulse throbbing like a jackrabbit. I like you," Shauna said. Her voice was weak and strained with fear. Lily looked at Shauna with confusion. The clown did too and dropped the knife from her throat. I wish you gave me a gift," Shauna said, now looking into the demented clown's pale green eyes. Do you like me?" Though Shauna was still shaking, she batted her eyes and tried to work up as much sex appeal as she could muster. Lily began to understand. Shauna was giving her an opportunity. She pulled at the restraints, holding her thumb down into her palm, trying to make her hand as small as possible. The ropes yanked her skin and burned as she moved against them. "I like you," the clown said to Shauna. He put his nose against her hair and took in a snootful that made him shiver. Shauna's face wrinkled with disgust. Lily's hand was pink from rope burn and it felt like fire, but she had one hand free. She motioned to Shauna to keep it going. "Untie me," Shauna said. "Let me show you how much I like you." The clown bent down and looked at Shauna. When he got to her breast, he paused and began to breathe heavily. He began untying her. Lily got her other hand free and untied her feet. She waited for the right moment before moving. Shauna moved her arms and legs and stretched in freedom. The clown stood over her, breathing quick, shallow breaths of excitement. Shauna stood next to him and seductively dragged her fingertips across the outside of the clown's body, tracing his lines with her nails. With the clown's eyes closed in ecstasy, Shauna gave him a swift knee to the nuts, making the clown scream, sending him to the floor. Lily raced to the kitchen island and grabbed her phone. When she took a look back, she saw the clown grabbing her friend and starting to beat the shit out of her. She ran into the pantry, gently closing its door behind her without a sound. The phone nearly fell out of her hand, she was so shaky. She took a moment, but only a moment, to calm herself down and think. She went to dial 911 but stopped. Her friend was being beaten out there. The cops would take ages. She needed help immediately. Shauna let out a guttural scream of pain from the other side of the door. Lily had her suspicions about what happened but didn't want to think about it. She dialed her mom. There was no answer. She dialed her dad. No answer there either. Then she remembered they put their phones on airplane mode when they slept so they wouldn't get disturbed. She scrolled through her contacts, a shaky finger trying to find anyone that could get to Shauna's house quickly. The name appeared as she thought of him. Jordan. Jordan lived right next to her. He could be there in no time. But would he pick up? Lily never talked to him, so why would he, especially in the middle of the night? But Lily didn't have a choice. It was Jordan or no one. "Hello?" Jordan mumbled, his voice indicating he was woken up from sleep. "Jordan, it's Lily." She cupped her hand around the phone so she didn't speak too loudly. "I'm at Shauna's house. There's a killer here. Seriously, a psycho. He's got Shauna and Mariana, and I'm hiding in the pantry. We need help, please. Bring." The sound of banging on the pantry door made Lily drop her phone and scream. The banging turned to smashing and a boot broke through the middle of the door. The clown kicked and kicked, desperately searching for Lily. Lily looked around the dark pantry for things to throw at the clown, but she couldn't see anything but cereal boxes and sugar packets and coffee. The clown smashed the entire door down and grabbed Lily tightly around the waist, hoisting her up in the air and squeezing her in a bear hug so tight that Lily thought her ribs were cracking. Lily saw spots as the world started to fade. She saw Shauna on the kitchen floor, covered in blood. She was slumped against the cabinets with a knife sticking out of her midsection. Red trickled from between her fingers as her hand draped over the wound. Mariana hadn't moved a muscle. She was still a tangled mess of ropes with bright red skin poking through the gaps. Lily was certain she was dead. The clown threw Lily on the floor and put his meaty hands around her neck. Spit flew from his mouth as he squeezed, compressing her trachea. Lily's air supply faded. The room was getting darker. Jordan raced through the door swinging a metal baseball bat and yelling. The clown turned his head towards the sound and got a moonshot. The bat dinged as its fat part made contact with his skull. The clown went down instantaneously. His hands flew off Lily's neck and he flopped to the floor. A gush of blood turned his white makeup red and pooled under his head. Jordan rushed to Lily's side, checking on her, making sure she was still breathing. Lily coughed and grabbed at her throat. She tried to speak, but the sounds came out harsh and raw. She winced, then nodded that she was okay. She motioned towards her friends. "Holy shit," Jordan said as he looked behind him and saw Shauna's bloody mess and Mariana's jumble of ropes. Jordan took out his phone and dialed 911. He went to check on Mariana. She was unconscious, but breathing. "Hold on, I gotta cut these ropes," he said. He went to Shauna next. She was alive as well, but weak. She pressed her hand against her stomach to keep the blood from leaking out. Jordan wasn't sure how to treat a wound, and he was scared to pull out the knife, so he left it as it was. He found a pair of kitchen shears and cut the rope around Mariana's limp body. Her face was a reddened mess of rope burns and compression marks. When he was sure the rope wasn't cutting off any more oxygen, he returned to take care of Lily. Jordan grimaced as he saw Lily's abused face. Any acne was replaced with black and blue lumps. One eye was swelled shut. Her throat was bruised as well. He could still see the finger marks from the clown. Tears and snot leaked down her face. Jordan carefully picked her up and took her to the couch. Lily hugged him. She hugged him tighter than she ever hugged anyone before. Jordan hugged her back. After high school graduation, Lily went back to where the Midnight Circus used to be. The tent was long gone. After the cops started asking questions about how the circus could employ a registered sex offender, the owner got smart and left town. In its place were new shops, a Starbucks, a movie theater, and the big box retailers that the ex-mayor once promised would fill the Burnsville entertainment district. Mariana and Shauna didn't want to go with Lily to visit where the circus used to be. Though it had been more than a year, the memories were still too painful for them to relive. They just wanted to move on and think about college. Lily needed closure. She walked down Jefferson Street, her arm intertwined with Jordan's. She looked into his soft blue eyes and smiled. There were no more masks, no more covering up to hide feelings.